Hey everybody, welcome back to Elemental Cartomancy. Today I'm coming on to do a quick walkthrough, or a quickish walkthrough, of the Dinosaur Marseille Tarot, or the Dinosaur de Marseille Tarot. Um, this is a deck by Anastasia Kashian, and as you can see, it was created in 2018. Okay, I got this off Etsy. And I'm excited to now have it. It's actually a pretty great Marseille tarot. Um, Dinosaur themed, as you know, funnily enough, as the name would give away. Um, the box is a lovely two-part box, nice and sturdy. I would pretty much call this the standard two-part box these days, to be honest with you. It's the option that a lot of creators are going for. Um, on the front, we can see that it has so I believe the coins are, I think it's ammonites we have rather than coins. So this is the two of ammonites. Um, on both ends here, it has the creator's name and the year of creation. And then on these sides, it has Les Dinosaures de Marseille, which is the title of the deck. And inside, we don't really have anything. That's pretty much what we get on the box. The book that we get. So what I'm actually going to do when I go through the majors, I'm going to read from the book because each of the majors has something on it. So usually a dinosaur, and there's actually a lot of thought that's gone into the choice of dinosaur with each tarot card. I think that I think it's extremely well done. And in order to do it justice in this walkthrough, I do want to, read out what it says. There's not a whole lot of information. I can give you an idea there of what you're getting for each card. So the Empress, the Emperor, you're getting pretty much a paragraph. Um, and it's more or less the same for the minors. Okay, so just an idea there. There's no information on spreads. There's a wee intro, and there's some kind of a reading references. So Anastasia directs us to books by Kathleen Matthews, Camellia Elias, Tom Benjamin, amongst others. But there's no kind of here's an example of a spread you could use with this deck. This is a Minchiate deck. A Minchiate deck is basically one, as I understand it, that has extra cards on top of the usual 7 to 8. So we'll go through it and we'll see what the extra cards are. Now the deck, this is the deck here. Now the first thing I would say is the card quality is fantastic. For those of us that like our nice kind of a sturdy, thick decks, I know it's a Minchiate, but if I take off the extra cards, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, and then I'm sure, yeah, that's the one of the queens. So this is the this is just the tarot deck, and I think the Happy Squirrel might be in here, but nice thick deck. To give you a kind of a size comparison, let's see, what will I do? I'll compare it to, let's see, a standard Smith weight, but because it is a smaller deck, I also want to show you it next to a playing card. So this is a kind of a next to a standard Smith weight US Games type size. So it's a slightly broader. Okay, so across the way it's slightly bigger, but up and down you can see that it's quite a bit shorter. All right. Now next to a playing card, it is, it's broader and taller, but that just gives you a kind of a size comparison, something to compare it to in your head, to give you an idea of what size this is. The stock is beautiful, almost linen type finish it has. Really, really good cardstock. Oh, and the backs. These are the backs. How cute are these backs? And reversible as well, as you can see, because it's kind of a mirrored So yeah, really, really cool backs. Let's kick off and go through the deck. Oh, I need to remember I've taken off some Minchiate. So we'll add them back in. So first of all, the majors. And as I say, I'm going to kind of just quickly read from the book to let you know what the dinosaur is, because as we can see, the titles are in French. So I'm going to pronounce it. I might butcher some of the French titles here, so apologies in advance if I do. Le Deinonyche, and so this is the Deinonychus. It's not a dinosaur that I can say that I've heard of, to be honest with you. But what it says is his bright plumage brings a smile to all. He is the ancestor of all birds. Grounded for now, he doesn't yet see where his path is leading him. Which of us does? So the ancestor of all birds, you know, but he's grounded. He can't fly yet. So he's got this whole kind of I suppose path of evolution ahead of him, and it's comparing that to the fool's path, the fool's journey that the fool has ahead of them. So that's quite cool. I'm quite enjoying that choice. We have the Oviraptor for the magician, and what it says here is, though he is small, his jaws are and his jaws weak, he is cunning enough to rob the nests of even the strongest and fiercest dinosaurs. Okay, don't take your eyes off him for a moment. Now, you might be thinking, cunning and, robbing other dinosaurs, is that really a trait that we tend to associate with the magician? If we think of Le Battleur, which is the Marseille magician, the street type magician, we do tend to associate, that trickster side of the magician with the old Marseille magician. So I think this is perfect. I think this is really good. I'm enjoying this choice. Also, the Brontosaurus, for the High Priestess. It says that her mighty limbs keep her grounded, but with her long neck, she can see far, both behind and ahead of her. She may not be the fastest mover, but she's reached a great age through observation and experience. For the Empress, we have the Triceratops, and it says Triceratops is the best of parents. She builds a mighty fortress and protects her young and monitors each egg closely. She may be a peaceful herbivore, but if you threaten her babies, you will face her horns. So this idea of this protective parent for the Empress. Now, for the Emperor, we have the Cryolophosaurus, I want to say. And he surveys his realm from the vantage point of the rocky throne. His imposing crest tells everyone that he is the strongest and most important predator. No need for camouflage. This confident carnivore is ruler of his kingdom. So in this dinosaur period, it must have been like the apex predator. And it's that idea of being at the top, being the ruler of all, that links it, I suppose, to the emperor. For the Pope or the Hierophant, we have the, oh gosh, Parasaurolophus. It says that this is a generous creature. A herd of these magnificent animals moving as one will make even the mighty Tyrannosaurus think twice about attacking. See how the tiny Pachycephalosaurus stay close to him for protection. They feel so secure that they have begun to squabble amongst themselves and need reminding that such behaviour attracts more dangerous attackers. So the idea of community that we associate with the Pope or the Hierophant. Okay, Velociraptor for the lovers is an interesting one. So the young Velociraptor has to choose between potential mates. The older has successfully raised many nests, but the younger has time and energy to counter her lack of experience. So this idea of choice, and not only just choice, but choosing between the more the more sensible choice, the older, more experienced choice, or the younger, more kind of a sexy and exciting choice, I suppose you could say, that we're linking to the lovers here. Now for the chariot, I think la guerrier just means warriors. And the entry says these armored warriors have joined forces. Nimble Dracorix takes the reins, but can he get Ankylosaurus and Stegosaurus to pull together? Question mark. Okay, so for justice, we have the Hadrosaur. Says they live on marshy ground. Balance is important to her. One wrong foot here could leave you up to your neck in trouble. So the idea of balance being of the essence, being really important. For the hermit, we have the baryonyx. Says that it's not a herd animal. As dusk falls, he sets out slowly and with care, scanning the path before him cautiously. He relies on himself alone, whether hunting or just keeping out of trouble. So we not only have the idea of, being a loner, being a solitary creature, but we also have this idea of caution, that we might associate with the hermit. For the Wheel of Fortune, we have evolution. So it says Dilophosaurus is riding high on the cycle of evolution today, but like Dimetrodon before him, he'll be gone tomorrow. That unassuming fury scrap rising up behind him is the future. Sorry, that unassuming furry scrap rising up behind him. So this seems to show, um, so this is maybe a dinosaur that came before this one, because that's kind of on its way out. This is who's kind of at the top of the wheel just now, and this is who's coming up next. So we're seeing kind of a different stages of evolution at different parts of the wheel. Okay, so this is like that saying that comes with the Wheel of Fortune. It's like, I have ruled, I rule, and I will rule or something like that. Um, so that's quite clever. The So this is the force or the strength card. Um, so it says the Allosaurus thought that Brachiosaurus was an easy meal. He'd reckoned without her power and determination. An aggressor who's all mouth is no match for a solid character when she puts her foot down. Survival of the fittest, which is what the title means, survival of the fittest, does not always mean the most ferocious. Okay. So this idea of inner strength, gentle strength that we quite often associate with the strength card, and having the wisdom to know how to apply your strength. Don't try and swat a fly with a sledgehammer. You probably just end up with a big hole in your wall. But at the same time, don't try and swat it with a feather because it's not going to do the job. I mean, don't swat a fly at all. Just open up a window and let it fly out. But for the purpose of the expression. Next we have the Hanged Man, the Trudon. It says it's fun to chase dragonflies in the sun, but as this Trudon is found, it's also important to look where you're going, or you may get held up indefinitely. So just take some time. Obviously, the journey forward is important, but it's also sometimes important to stop and look ahead. And that pause, that sacred pause, you might say, is what we sometimes associate with the Hanged One. Now, for death, we have the Tyrannosaurus. Here's Tyrannosaurus as he is today. All feared him in his time. He's now a pile of bones, just like the rest. C'est la vie. So it's this idea of things coming to an end, of, again, evolution, of things changing. Temperance, we have the Spinosaurus, and it says it divides his life between the realms of land and water. So we often associate temperance with, balance between elements, of having that balance of different approaches, of not being totally on one side or on the other. And we have a dinosaur who spends time both in water and on land. So that's quite clever, I suppose. For the devil, it says the carrion eaters, which is what I think this is what this means. The carrion eaters have an unfortunate reputation, although they certainly have a place in the grand scheme. It's an easy enough life, but such lazy and distasteful habits are never going to win any popularity contests. Okay, so this idea of kind of maybe like laziness and other bad habits patterns that we get ourselves into that we sometimes associate with that devil card. For the tower, we have the volcano. Um, so it says the dinosaurs were so focused on all the food that was available on this verdant mountainside that they never even noticed the volcano waking up. Warning rumbles. Warning rumbles should always be heeded. Okay, so in the time of the dinosaurs, it was the volcanoes that kind of wreaked that destruction, that havoc, that disruption, that we associate with, the lightning hitting the tower. We have meteorites for the stars or the star. It says change approaches our dinosaur's world as fast as a speeding meteor. Yet there is always hope in life. Sometimes springs dry up, sometimes they reappear in a new place. Where will you be in 100 million years? For the moon, we have extinction. Okay. So it says they're facing extinction, eclipsed by the more varied and successful Dinosauria. The last laugh will be theirs, however. Their only surviving line of descendants will eventually become the mammals. And this is the cynodonts that are facing extinction. Um, Natural selection for the sun. Um, Psittacosaurus and his friend Ferrosaurus spar playfully for a spot in the sunlight. The skills they learn lightheartedly now will help the adult beasts with the challenges of real life and natural selection. Okay, interesting. For judgment, we have paleontology, and it says all our dinosaur friends are now long deceased, but here comes the paleontologist to dig them up and tell their life stories again. The mighty beasts have gone, but their lives have left their mark. And for 21, the world, we have the Diplodocus. So the Diplodocus dances with gravity and surprising grace, the central axis of our own world. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, so it has been said. So we have our Diplodocus here as the dancing world card. Now, before we come on to the minors, we do have the normally we call it the happy squirrel, but in this case we have the happy tree shrew. And it says, for the squirrels have not yet been invented. That's why it's tree shrew. The newest card in the deck and the newest sort of life form in the dinosaur country. It reminds us not to be dismissive or careless of the apparent small and weak. They may have different powers. We are all descended from this furry scrap, although in this day he may not have been considered king of anything. So that's quite interesting for the happy squirrel. Usually I associate that card with humour and just the need to approach things lightly and not take yourself and other things that are happening too seriously. To me, that's how I would normally interpret the happy squirrel card. But here we seem to be looking at and talking about, don't take things for granted and don't judge things. Um, don't underestimate things, I guess. To be honest, I meant to rearrange this. The the suits, the minors seem to be arranged king, and then they go ace through 10, and then they go valet, which is page, cavalier, which is knight, and then reine, queen. So the king comes first, and then we have the pips, and then the three other courts. So just to let you know, this is the king of ammonites, which is the king of discs. So I'll quickly go through the minors, the ace, the two. And you can see that in this suit, the pips are following that, yeah, that usual Marseille pattern. Now that changes when we come to the wands and the swords. Um, so we have Valet d'Ammonite, which is the page of, it would normally be the page of coins in a Marseille. The Knight and the Queen. Now the next suit that we have is the Chronoids, and this is cups. So we have the King, the Ace, and that's the 10. And again, we're seeing that Marseille pattern, you know, with the 9 cups and then the 10th cup over the top, kind of almost as if it's pouring into the other 9 cups. We have our page, our valet, our knight, and our queen. Next, we have fossils, which is our wands. So here we have our king of fossils, looks like a T-Rex. Well, maybe it's not, maybe it's one of the other carnivores. Ace, 2, and this is where we see a divergence from the usual Marseille pattern. So the 2, we don't have that usual, you know, the crossed ones. Here we kind of see the normal 3, but then this is different from how the 4 of wands is normally patterned. I do like the kind of embellishments and the decorations though, so I think that I still think it's really well done. 7, 8, the 9, and the 10. Our valet, our knight, and our queen of fossils. And finally, we have, I believe this means ferns. So this is the king of ferns, and this is instead of the swords. So we see we have that kind of a ace of ferns with a kind of a crowning at the top. We have the 2, the 3, 4, 10, and we have our valet. So if you, like me, associate the swords, or in this case ferns, to the air suit, then you'll probably enjoy that it's flying creatures that are in the courts for this suit. Now this is where we come into the to the Minchiate part. This is these are the extra cards. So I'm going to go back to the book and I'm just going to kind of tell you what each of them means. So we have in the normal majors we already have the sun and the moon, but in the extra part of the deck we also have the other planets. If I can just find my page. Okay, so we have Mars, and the combat to Mars I think just means the combat of Mars, but it might mean something else. Les ailes de Mercure is the wings of Mercury. L'éclat de Jupiter I think is the light or the clarity of Jupiter, but someone might be able to kind of correct me on that. It's in the book, I don't know if you can see here. It's just telling you the planet. It's not actually telling you what the expression means. L'année de Venus. The cycle of Saturn. Okay. So those are the planets. We start off with prudence. So these are the virtues. So we have prudence, faith, L'espoir is hope, so hope of the reptiles. Charity, the camarades, so the charity of comrades, I guess. Then of the seasons or stages of life, it says here. So spring slash infancy. So printemps is spring, and we see the the new dinosaur being hatched from the egg, which is quite cute. Um, and you can see, I should have said, but you can see that the extra part of the deck, it continues on with the numerals from the majors. So we're up to 32 here. Um, Triassic summer, l'été is summer, and summer is, I think, yeah, youth, summer or youth. We then have autumn or maturity, and then winter slash old age. The next section is called the humours. So sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholy, and then choleric. Choleric allosaurs are hot-headed and very quick to use their teeth. Their humour is heating yellow bile, and the corresponding element is fire. And that's the full deck, guys. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video, give these a right good shuffle, and then we'll come back and do a wee spread. What I will do though, I don't like reading with extra cards in my deck, so I'm going to take out the extras and just read with the standard 78 tarot. But we'll come back and have a look and see how they shuffle, and we'll spread some cards. So in terms of shuffling, this is actually a really nice deck to shuffle, and the quality of this deck is really, really, um, up there. I've riffle shuffled this several times, and there's no evidence of any bowing. So there's not a lot of decks that can do that because, as you all know, I riffle shuffle the hell out of my decks. So the card stock can withstand riffle shuffling, then that's a good deck. Now it is quite tough. Your hands do get sore after a bit, but it can be riffled, and it can you can do the bridge shuffle as well with it. But as you can see, it's not affecting the cards at all. They're maintaining their integrity. Overhanding is great because they're that smaller size, so they're really easy and it's really comfortable to oversize them, to overhand them, sorry. It doesn't feel like they're too small, sometimes if you're shuffling a really small Lenormand deck, um, it can be uncomfortable to overhand just because of the size of it. These are just right, so they are. Um, in terms of laying down cards and doing a spread, let me just zoom out. Um, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a kind of a new spread with you. This is one. So we all have those kind of people that will come to your table or come for a reading and they don't want to tell you anything. You know, they'll just want to kind of see what comes up in the cards, or ask for a general or something like that. And this is a good wee kind of an icebreaker reading for me anyway. I'm actually going to make my head a bit smaller so as that we can actually see the cards on the table. And this is, the box spread, or the 3x3. It's actually, I use it very much the same way as the Lenormand kind of a 9 card spread, the 3x3 box spread. So the way that I normally do this, if I'm reading tarot and someone just wants a general reading, is so this is different from how you've seen me do before. I will normally spread the cards out like this and then pick 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Different people will say, you should do it with your left hand because, you're thinking about it less or whatever. I do it with my left hand, but it's nothing to do with that. It's just because that's what I feel most comfortable with. What I've found that if I'm thinking to, if I'm making a point and using a particular hand to do something like that, I'm thinking, I'm thinking about, I'm using my left hand because it's easier, or because I'm thinking about it less. But as such, I'm thinking about it more. I don't know. I just overthink it, and that doesn't work for me. So, but yeah, use whatever hand you want. Is my point. So 3 by 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now the way that I would read these is so it's in columns initially. The left column is the past, the middle column is the present, and the third column is the future or a possible future. So let's see, what have we got? So down here we've got the 9 of Ferns, which is our 9 of Swords. We have the 3 of Ferns, which is like the 3 of Swords, and then we have the 6 of Ammonites, which is like the 6 of Discs. So in the past, there's obviously been some sort of difficulty here with this, fake client that we've just made up that we're reading for. There's been some difficulties. There's been some shit going down. Perhaps with the 3 of Ferns, something's come to light. Some sort of truth has come to the surface, and quite often people will associate just the 3 of Swords alone with pain and heartache and that kind of a thing. I tend to look more at it as a card of, expanding your knowledge. Threes being, growth, and Swords being about intellect and knowledge and stuff. But then with the 9, when we start getting into that high mental energy space, that's when we see kind of things like, difficulties arising, whether it's feeling anxious or, just going through a tough time. So something's come to light that's causing this person some grief, some pain. Um, we do see a bit of balance coming out there with the 6 of Ammonite. So we see, although there's been a tough situation, it does seem to have resolved itself, or at least it's going in the direction of resolving itself with the 6 here. Things kind of seem all over the place with these two cards, even just looking at them visually. But with the 6, we see symmetry. We see things just feeling as though they're in order again. And for me, the 6s are about harmony. It's about harmonizing the situation. It's about coming out of that tough time of the 5 and just finding that balance again, finding that happy space again. The fact that it's the Ammonites, the Earth suit, suggests that maybe financially, the person's been going through some difficulties in the past, but again, maybe it's due to the generosity of someone else, or just by some other means, the situation has balanced itself out. So that's quite interesting. Now let's look and see what's happening currently for this person. So we have the 4 of Crinoids, which is the 4 of Cups. We have the Hanged One, or the Trudon, and we have the 3 of Cups. You did see that I'd fanned them out and I was picking them from random spaces. So it's interesting that we have 2 Swords cards here and 2 Cups cards here, isn't it? So for me, the 4 of Cups sometimes can be about that kind of a staleness. Things get a wee bit too samey, and we tend to get turned off from the thing that's happening, or we just get a bit fed up with it. That is definitely something that we can see with the 4 of Cups. Also, it can also just purely and simply be about emotional stability, because the cups are about our emotions, our feelings, all of those kind of things, and the 4s are a card of stability. So it's a card about emotional stability, but obviously the issue with they represent the element of water, is when water gets too stable, it turns to ice. Okay, so we do want to be emotionally stable, especially after these times of the 3 and the 9 of Swords. A wee bit of emotional stability isn't necessarily a bad thing. but we just want to make sure that we're not becoming too detached. Okay, there does need to be perhaps a period of, taking a bit of a rest, recovering from some of the pains that have happened, and maybe just enjoying some time with, the people close to us, building up those relationships. But, in order to gain that emotional stability, but like I say, we just want to make sure that things aren't becoming a wee bit too frosty. Okay. So that's something that the person should be thinking about right now. That's a situation that should be going on for them right now. And we're obviously giving them something to think about, to make sure that they're detaching themselves enough that they can heal from the situation in the past, but they're not detaching themselves so much from their friends and their community and the people around about them that, things become difficult. What's happening in the future? We have the Queen of Coins, or the Queen of Ammonites. We have the Fool, and we have what is this? The one, two, three, four, five, six. Actually, I had to count them there because there doesn't seem to be a numeral on this, but it's the six of fossils, I think. So the future's definitely looking a lot more bright. There is a big change coming for this person, Maybe with a fool, sometimes it can just mean a complete change in your point of view, you know, and we seem to be kind of closely tying it with this queen figure. For me, the queen of ammonites, or the queen of coins, is a protective force around about you. It's someone who's got your best interests at heart. It's like a mama bear type figure, someone who's going to protect you, who's going to look after you, and if anyone tries to kind of hurt you, then they're going to be right in there. So this person, this force around about the querent is going to be key. Now, bear in mind, this doesn't necessarily have to be someone else. This could be the querent learning to stand up for themselves. But whatever it is, this force is going to be key in order to kind of just let them adopt this new outlook. This couldn't give a fuck outlook basically that we have with the Fool. And that's going to give way to this six of wands, six of fossils, which is, again, it's another six, so it's about achieving that kind of that harmony. But we associate the six of wands particularly with, balance and the things that we're passionate about. It's victory. It is very much a victory card. It's a card where we are being celebrated. So we're feeding off that energy from those that are kind of appraising us. But equally, the things that we're doing, our accomplishments, energize the crowd. So there's this kind of a healthy exchange of energy that's happening there. And that's going to come for this person when they take this leap of faith that we associate with the Fool. Okay. Now, that might be enough. So, if you've got someone who's coming up to you and saying, I'm not sure, just tell me what you see. Sometimes they'll, based on what you've told them from the past, the present, and the future, they'll say, all right, okay, well, I really want to know more about, this opportunity that's coming up. Can we maybe look into that? Then you can kind of, pull another spread and look specifically at that and see what that might look like for them. So if that's the case, then I would maybe kind of leave this spread there. I would kind of put this spread away and I would reshuffle and pull more cards. But you can also look at this as, conscious, and, the bottom would maybe be like unconscious, or just things that are beneath the surface. So these are the things that the querent is looking at. These are things that are on their mind and very much in the focus of their mind. And then on the bottom are maybe the things that are kind of a bubbling beneath the surface, they're not quite aware of yet, but that nonetheless have an effect on their situation. And sometimes you might see the middle row as being like the kind of the reality of the situation. Okay, so that's just an idea of how I would read the 9 card spread. You've been able to see the cards in action, and we've kind of done a wee sample reading for our imaginary querent. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. I hope that you've found this walkthrough helpful. If you have, then please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll hopefully catch you all soon.